Welcome to another episode of In the Kitchen with Liliana. Today we're cooking from Vegetable Literacy by Deborah Madison, a fantastic cookbook on how to get you to eat more vegetables. We're going to be making red lentil and coconut soup with black rice and turmeric. And I want to talk a little bit about the red lentils. These are red lentils that look like this. You can find them at any store that sells Indian products or any store that sells a lot of grains. And sometimes you can find them in bulk at specialty nature stores, isn't that what they're called? So I want to show you, these can be quite dirty, so I usually put them in a bowl. In here we have 1 1/4 cup lentils. I've kind of looked at them for stones, but not too diligently, because I know I'm going to be able to get some muck and dirt out with these rinses. So here you see I poured the water in, and usually I do this in the sink, but for ease for the my camera people, we're doing them like this. And so you see all the stuff that's floating. We're going to rinse that and keep pouring in water until the water comes out fairly clear. So you can see the water's cloudy and you can barely see the lentils except for the ones that are floating. So you'll swish the lentils around like this with your fingers until all the debris is sloughed off. So as you can see, the water in the lentils has run clear. You can clearly see the lentils. And I must have rinsed them 7 or 8 times. That's how dirty they were. So you want to do this over the sink. Hold your hand against the bowl so that you don't lose any of the precious red lentils. These red lentils are now soaking in just plain water. They're going to soak while I prepare the rest of the ingredients. Just for you, those of you who don't own this cookbook, I'll tell you what that is. The cookbook again is Vegetable Literacy by Deborah Madison. So we're going to need the following things. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of ghee or sesame oil, 1 large onion, that's going to be finely diced, 1 teaspoon ground turmeric, 1 teaspoon curry powder, 2 teaspoons ground cumin, 2 teaspoons black or yellow mustard seeds. I'm going to be using yellow mustard seeds, minced cilantro stems from 1 bunch, a 15-ounce can of light coconut milk. This is not a brand endorsement, this is just the one that was available. 4 cups of water, sea salt, the juice of 2 or 3 limes, and coconut butter. And then we'll go through it. So you need 1 large onion, as I have here, and you have to dice this onion. So I'm going to start dicing it. I think you all know how to do it, but just in case. So I make these slits here on the onion, all around the onion. And then I cut this way, the long way I guess. And this gets me a nice dice, not perfect, but perfect for our red lentil soup. So I've got here my Dutch oven. I don't have any ghee on hand, so I'm using a tablespoon of butter and sesame oil. It's good to improvise, use the ingredients you have at home. And I'm going to let this melt, and then I'm going to, this is the finely diced onion. I'm going to add the onion to the pot, and we're going to cook that down for about 6 minutes until it's slightly translucent. Butter's still melting. I also want to show you, recipe calls for cilantro stems, so just the stems. I just want to show you that the cilantro comes like this. This is the stems with leaves, and you've probably seen this if you've had tableside guacamole made, or if you cook with other things. And here I have gotten the stems. I'm just going to chop these up, and I'm going to add that in the next step. I just wanted to give you a little advanced taste. So in go the onions. Butter's melted. And we're going to let these brown, like I said, for about 6 minutes. So here you can see that the onions are already starting to turn color. They've become a little bit more translucent. Remember, the onions are at medium to high heat. It smells delicious in here with the sesame oil, the butter, and the cooking onions. Just to recap here, we have 1 teaspoon each of turmeric and curry powder, 2 teaspoons each of yellow mustard seeds, and ground cumin, and that's going in the pot with the onions. We're going to stir that up and let it cook for a few minutes. it smells now even more delicious here. Also remember to toss in your cut up cilantro stems with the turmeric, curry powder, mustard seeds, and cumin. Yum. The deliciousness smell in here just keeps growing. So stir this around for about 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to our next step. So while the spices were heating up, I'm going to drain these lentils, the ones that were soaking, and I'm going to add them to the soup pot. Along with 4 cups of water. Yum. And 2 teaspoons salt. So we stirred in the water the red lentils and the cilantro stems, and now we're stirring in the light coconut milk, which seems to have separated a bit, but that's okay. And we're going to bring this now to a boil and then lower it to a simmer, partially cover it for 20 minutes and let the lentils cook. So we're going to finish the soup. I've taken a couple of handfuls of tender greens. This has Swiss chard and some spinach in it. I leave the stems on, it's no big deal. If you don't like stems, of course you can de-stem it. I'm going to coarsely chop it. Careful with fingers. And I'm going to add it to the soup at the last minute. I've also taken the juice of, the recipe calls for 2 to 3 lemons, depends on how lemony you want it. I only wanted 1 lemon. I don't like it that lemony. So I have the lemon there. As soon as the lentils are done, I'm going to add the lentil. Remember, your lentils are partially covered for 30 minutes to get them to the proper mushiness factor. Now we've let our beans get sufficiently, our lentils I should say, red lentils, get sufficiently mushy from a partially covered pot. And I'm going to add the lemon juice, fresh squeezed, lemon or lime, your preference, and the tender greens, right, that I've chopped up, stems and all. Again, your preference, but what's wrong with stems? Anyway, I'm going to mix them in so they become bright green. You also want to taste for salt. Add salt if you would like. If the soup is too thick, you can add more water. I like it kind of thick. So does my audience. There you see the greens turning a bright green almost. And then the final addition is right when you're ready to serve is coconut butter is what the recipe calls for. I use coconut oil because I couldn't find any coconut butter, and it's just as solid as coconut butter. So 3 to 4 tablespoons. As you can see, that was about 2 there. And I like to err on the side of less, and then add more if that's what I'm feeling for. It's about 3 tablespoons of coconut butter at the end. Doesn't like high heat, the coconut, right? And you've been simmering. So your greens are nice and tender, the lentils are sufficiently mushy, and the coconut butter has now been mostly melted and absorbed. Make sure it's all melted and absorbed before you serve it. And just ladle it into a bowl and enjoy. Thanks for joining us.